As a financial coach, one of the most common problems I come across is I want to buy something, but I can't afford it. What do I do? And this is when I introduce them to the 3 levers that we can adjust to make any purchase a reality. I'm a budget guy, so most people expect me to say, well, if you can't afford it, you just don't buy it. But that's not very helpful. And if it's something that's truly important to them or to you, then I want you to be able to buy it. I want to help you figure out how we can use the budget to get the thing that you really want. So I want to show you these 3 purchasing levers and how we can adjust them, the same ones that I've used with all of my clients to help make their dreams a reality. And the first one is the item itself. So what do I mean when I say this? Well, think of this lever as kind of adjusting the quality of the purchase. We can adjust it up and make the quality of the purchase increase, thereby making it cost more money, or we can adjust the quality of the purchase and drop it down to make it more affordable. If you think about buying a car, for example, we can adjust the lever when it comes to certain features. If we add the heated seats, now it's more expensive. If we take away the heated seats or take away some other features or swap out the V8 for the V6, we can adjust the quality of the car down and make it more affordable. Now, you're probably thinking, wait, hold up. I thought you said that we're adjusting levers to make the thing that I want more affordable. And now you're telling me just like choose a less quality thing? Well, obviously, and I get that. Just hang tight. We're going to talk about the other 2 levers here in a moment, but it's important that I always start with this first lever because this determines the price you're going to pay for this purchase. And so we want to question, do we really want everything about this particular thing, or is there something about it that we can adjust to make it more affordable but still get us the value that we're looking for? To make this a little bit more concrete, let me tell you a story about a trip that Hannah and I took a few years ago. So back in 2017, Hannah and I had a number of goals that we were saving up for, the biggest of which at the time was saving up for an Airstream travel trailer that we could then renovate and move into full-time and travel the country. But another opportunity to take a short 1-week trip with Hannah's cousin and some other friends of his out to Colorado from Tennessee. And we really wanted to go. We wanted to make this trip happen. We thought it would be fun, but we didn't want to steal too much money from our Airstream renovation savings money. We wanted to go then, that summer, which is going to be important here in a minute. How could we make it more affordable by adjusting the lever of the trip itself? And the main thing that we did, which some of you are going to say that is nuts, I would never do that, which is fine. That's your prerogative, is we threw a mattress in the bed of our truck, and instead of paying for hotels, we slept in the bed of the truck. On the way from Tennessee to Colorado, we slept at multiple Walmart parking lots at night, and then we would pay $10 the next morning to shower at a truck stop nearby. And so instead of paying the $100, $120 a night on a hotel room, we saved by only having to pay $10 to shower the next morning. So ultimately, we ended up saving probably over $1,000 on that trip, which allowed us to be able to take the trip. Yes, it was frugal. No, it's not for everybody. Did some people think we were homeless? Yes, they did. When we were crawling out of the truck bed in Nashville, we had offered free food actually by a lady driving by. And we tried to explain like, no, we're fine. This is actually us on vacation. At the time though, this was worth it to us because ultimately it was either we had to adjust one of the other levers that I'm about to explain, which we did not want to do, or we could adjust the lever of the trip itself. And we could try to make the trip itself more affordable so that we could spend most of our money on doing stuff once we got to Colorado rather than on the hotels on the way to and from. All right, that brings us to the second lever, which is the timeline of the purchase. Now, this lever is all about when you make that purchase. There are some things that you can't really adjust the timeline on, right? But there's a lot of discretionary spending where we can adjust the timeline. And if you think about it, on a long enough time horizon, as long as you don't die first, anything is affordable if you're willing to wait. Let's take a dream trip or like a car that you're wanting to save up for example. Once you've gotten clear on what you want that purchase to be and exactly the quality of the item itself or exactly the quality of the trip you want to take, and you are unwilling to lower the quality any further, well then your next lever that you can adjust is when will you actually do this? If you can't save up and afford that trip or that car or house or whatever it is in the next 6 months, well then what about 12 months? Or what about setting our expectations to 2 years or 5 years or 10 years or whatever timeline makes sense. Eventually, of course, the timeline starts to get too long. And if I'm working with a client and I say, okay, well, what about if that's the dream car you want? It looks like right now, based on what we're saving, it's going to take us about 5 years. And they might go, ooh, I don't know that I want to wait 5 years. And they say, great. maybe we go back to the drawing board on the first lever and see if you want to adjust that quality anymore. And so often the quality and the timeline levers are kind of getting adjusted in tandem, trying to find that right sort of, Goldilocks fit of the perfect amount of time with the perfect amount of quality to make the two fit together. A helpful question here is asking, what is the longest that I'm willing to wait in order to make this purchase or do that thing? This can help you understand how you want to prioritize things within your finances. This can also work with really, really small things too. For example, each month, Hannah and I get an individual amount of spending money, an allowance, if you will. It's an agreed upon amount that we've both kind of said every single month we're going to commit to sticking within that amount of money for individual fun spending money. And if we don't spend it all in one month, well, then it rolls over to the next month and builds up and grows. I've recently gotten more into running, and I've been watching a lot of Nick Bare here on YouTube. He's got this awesome running hat that's like red and says "Go One More" on it. It's super cool. A couple of months ago, I didn't have enough money in my category to buy that Nick Bare hat. Now, I could have adjusted the quality of the item. I could have gone and gotten a less expensive running hat, but I didn't want to adjust the quality of the item. I wanted the Nick Bare running hat. And so what did I do? I waited. I kicked out the timeline. I waited until the next month when I had new spending money to be able to go buy my running hat. So you can apply this idea, this timeline lever adjustment, to very small things as well as really large things. Let me give you another example. So I work with a lot of folks who are in their 50s and 60s, and a very common conversation we have to have is, how old do you want to be when you retire? In these scenarios, I found it's helpful to start with an extreme and then kind of work backwards from there. So with the retirement conversation, typically what we're trying to figure out is, how much do we need to be investing today on a monthly basis in order to retire at a certain age? And we can put their numbers into a spreadsheet and work that math out. But I need to know the age that they really want to retire at. So often I'll ask them a question like, okay, well, what about retiring at 87? If you're still working your job at 87, are you going to be happy? And they're almost always like, no, I want to be done long before that. I'm like, great. What about 79? No. What about? And we keep working backwards and backwards and backwards until all of a sudden I say a number and they go, all right, yeah, it's probably not my first choice, but if I'm still working at that age, I'm okay with that. And then great. We can now calculate the minimum that they should be investing every single month to make sure that they're retired by their maximum desired age. And then we can come a little bit more forwards and give them another number that's like, but your ideal age is X number of dollars per month. And so if we're trying to adjust the amount per month, that's the purchase, if you will, that we're adjusting. And what we're doing is we're kicking out the timeline in order to lower the required amount of money per month needed to invest. And it all has to do with how nice of a retirement you want, right? Lever number one, quality, with the timeline of when you want to retire, lever number two. The third question becomes, what are you willing to sacrifice in order to save up enough to make that thing happen? Now, this could be adjusting other purchases and saying no to those, right? We could reduce our spending in eating out or Amazon shopping or, other subscriptions that we cut. It could also be making sacrifices in terms of our time. And so maybe we pick up another job, or we start working overtime, or we spend a lot of time learning a new skill set so that we can change careers into something that is more lucrative, that ends up increasing our income so that then we can use that income to achieve the thing that we want. Either way, we are making sacrifices, be it with money, things that we're, saying no to in purchases, or with time to try and increase our earning capacity. And it is sometimes with this third lever that we're able to achieve the thing that I said at the top of the video about how you can afford anything by adjusting these three levers. Even if you say, well, Nick, I want to be able to buy a $50 million yacht and I want it in 10 years. All right, well, there's the first two. Well, now the only one to adjust is your effort and sacrifice. And so you better have a really good game plan for earning the kind of money required to buy a $50 million yacht in 10 years. Now, I get that most of you watching this video are probably not wanting that, but you probably do have some things on your vision board that might require you to find some ways to increase your income. That's where we can adjust this third lever. If you are unwilling to adjust the quality of some purchase, let's take a dream house, for example, and you're unwilling to adjust the timeline. You kind of have something in your mind and you're saying, that is when I want this dream house. If you don't currently make enough money to save what is necessary by that timeline for that house, well, then the only lever you have left is the sacrifice and effort that goes into making more money. And so by definition, you are sacrificing and trading time and effort that you could use for literally anything else to find ways to make more money so that you can ultimately achieve the dream house on the set timeline that you have in mind. Another way to think about this third lever is that everything in life has a price. Sometimes that price is in money and you need to figure out what the actual price you have to pay is. Sometimes that price is in effort and time and things that you have to say no to in order to get it. And so when you think about your future vision, whether it's literal things you want to buy or just things you want to do, get married, have kids, travel, retire, whatever it is, all of those things have a price in order to get them. And the question that you need to ask yourself is, am I willing to pay it? And if you are, great, then let's make a game plan and let's make it happen. But if not, well, then we can adjust these levers and go do something else. Let's go back to our car example. Let's say that I've got my eyes on a very specific car and I've done all my thinking around it and I've adjusted that first lever to a $20,000 car. And then I think about the timeline and I would like to buy that car for cash in 2 years. Well, I can do the math there and realize, well, I need to be saving $800 per month in order to have $20,000 in cash in 2 years. And so then the third lever comes into play with going, all right, well, what am I willing to give up so that I can save $800 a month and be on track for this car? Some of you are probably going, well, just take out a loan for the car, no big deal. But that's adjusting the first lever, right? If I take out a loan for the car, well, I'm getting the same car, but now I'm just paying a lot more money for it, because I'm going to pay a lot of interest over the life of the car. And so you still should be thinking about, okay, well, now I'm not buying a $20,000 car. I'm buying a much more expensive car for the same vehicle because I'm taking out a loan. Yeah, that speeds up my timeline, but am I comfortable paying this new amount? You're still adjusting the first lever. You're just not doing it consciously. And that's what these three levers help us have a conversation around. You can adjust all three of these levers kind of concurrently with any purchase, whether it's something really large, like when you retire or buying a house, or something as small as a running hat that you would like to buy with next month's spending money. The key is to get into the habit of asking yourself these questions and seeing your financial decisions through the lens of these three levers. And once you do that, as one of my favorite financial bloggers, Paula Pant, would say, you can afford anything, just not everything. When you start viewing your financial decisions through these three levers, it won't necessarily make your decisions easier, but it will make your decisions more clear and ultimately help you use more of your money for the things that matter the most to you, which is what we're all about here on this channel. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.